Welcome to the VetPractice Playbook, brought to you by VetPractice Pro, where we talk all things veterinary leadership, management, clinic ownership, and more. I'm Dr. Emily King, joined by John and Caleb Biddles and Richie King. Woo! All right. So we've been talking about this, but we're officially launched, and we've done the upgrades to the website.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Ba-ba-da-bing. And I went to it not too long ago, and it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
I like it much better than the launched version.
Yes, flows way better.
Flows better. It's easier to find things, in my opinion. So, especially now because you have pictures of the forms.
Yes.
So
like, you know what you're getting.
Yes. Yeah. All of the worksheets, all of the downloadables, basically any of the SOPs. There's actually, it looks like a miniature version of it, kind of, sort of. And so you can see it, which I was like, you need to see it in order to believe it that you want to buy it.
Right.
So anyway,
yeah,
I was like, especially with our clever names, because how are you supposed to know what wow, how, and something is? Like, if you don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, or 5 essential senses in your, like, what do you, I mean, like, what
are you talking about?
Yeah. So I think being able to actually, like, look at the sheet is extremely helpful.
Clarity's always a win.
Clarity is a winner. Okay. Make sure you're on our email list.
Yep.
Circle group.
Okay.
John's excited. Maybe you should explain it.
Join our circle group. It's a forum for veterinary professionals to, you know, vent, ask questions, collaborate together. Social media platform. Check us out.
You know, we were talking about that this morning. Like, we have quite a few people on there. It's like over 350 people on Circle. And John and I were discussing, like, what do you think people want to see? What's motivating them to join Circle? You know, what are they hoping to get out of Circle? So if you're out there and you're on Circle, please tell us, because we'll make sure that we provide it through Circle.
Yes. Yeah. Catered content just for you to give us ideas. Let's go.
Absolutely. All right. On to the main play. Have you guys ever worked with someone, not saying it was me, who was an incredible clinician, but a difficult leader?
I can't say yes, right? Because I worked under you.
Well, today we're talking about something that can feel uncomfortable to admit. Being an excellent veterinarian does not automatically make you a great leader. So clinical excellence matters in our field, but being skilled, knowledgeable, and technically strong, I guess I should say, absolutely matters. But without leadership skills, you're going to be kind of stuck in the mud. Mm-hmm. And just because you're a veterinarian and you practice great clinical skills doesn't mean you're going to be an awesome leader.
Right.
I think that translates well.
I've seen it more times than I can count, especially like I was mentioning myself. Like, I was not a good leader. I thought that you could just open a practice and then lead. Like, people would just do it. You thought they should
realize all the stuff they don't teach you in vet school.
Yeah. They're not the same skill set.
Yeah.
Being a good clinician and being a good leader. I mean, some of the things overlap, obviously, right? Being consistent and learning and all those things. But I mean, in theory, they're not the same skill set.
Yes.
So you go into that position and you're like, wow, okay. It's a rude awakening to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same goes for a lot of professions. You learn the skills, you learn the knowledge that you need for that profession. But if you want to start a business, they're not teaching you that. You're either going to find out the hard way, you're going to sign up for VPP and learn how.
Yeah.
Or you're going to find a good friend like, Richie over here, help you out along the way.
Exactly. What do you guys think shifts the most when they move from, you know, a clinician to a leader, or like in your case, when you moved from being an on-the-floor technician to now a managing technician in a leadership role? What do you think shifts for people the most?
Yeah, the thing that comes to my head, like, first is really switching from doing the work and then leading and teaching others how to do it, and delegating. It was a lot of, I was hands-on so much, and then I had to learn how to step away and not be hands-on and teach and develop people under me to grow.
Where do you think the biggest mistakes happen when they're in that place?
They continue to do the work.
They do the work. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They feel like they're the only ones who can do the work.
Yes. And it's, if you don't do it exactly my way, then it's wrong, and I'm just going to do it. It's easier to do it than to teach somebody to do it. Like all those things go through at least my head. And I really had to pull myself out of, I know I can do this faster and it would just go faster if I just did it, but I'm not growing and developing anybody by doing that. So you really have to take the time to take a little bit longer to get a task done by teaching others to do it.
Yes.
Because in the long run, it's going to save you a lot more time.
More time. It's the concept of multiplying your time.
Yeah.
So if you can put a process in place now that then saves you time over time, then you multiplied your time. So that's extremely valuable, especially in our industry, whether that be develop an SOP or train someone how to do that job, so that then you're moving on to something else. Now you saved yourself 5 minutes every single day, multiply that times. So now you've just multiplied your time.
Yep. Yep. And I think we've talked about it in previous podcasts, but if somebody can do the job 80% as well as you, then you need to delegate the task.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Plus, I think it's like micromanaging, don't you think?
Yes.
When you start to do that to people.
Yes.
Like it really sucks the joy out of their job. If you're micromanaging, if you're constantly in their space thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you have a clinician going to a leader, the very first couple of weeks, lay the map of how that's going to go. I did this the wrong way. And what I'm getting at is, how do they handle the title? How do they handle the promotion?
Mm-hmm.
Do they expect respect based on a title? Respect is earned based on your leadership, your competency, how well you support your team, how well you're there for them, how well you eliminate barriers for them. And some people, when they get a new position, when they move from clinician to leader, they expect their employees or the people that they lead to respect them simply based on their title. And that will lose you respect quicker than your leadership will gain you respect. You will be starting in the negative, trying to earn it back.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely true. Have you seen that in human? I'm just curious from a human hospital perspective. How do clinicians work do they lead, or are they strictly like going in, doing a task and moving on?
So you're talking about like the clinicians, like nurses, practicing nurses, RNs, or anything at the bedside. Healthcare is a finicky, a fickle little thing going on because usually, especially in critical care settings, you're extremely knowledgeable and competent clinicians are usually very type A. They're very my way or the highway. And a lot of times that does not translate well to leadership. They're also smart enough to understand how broken the healthcare system is. And that as a leader, it's very difficult to drive change in a healthcare environment. And they're smart enough to stay away from it.
Okay.
So what you end up is you have leaders that are kind of middle of the road as a clinician, but they have this passion for leadership and they feel that they can drive more impact there than what they can at the bedside. And those are the people that you see that go up to leadership roles. And if they do it right, the very strong clinicians, it's a mutual support. They will support them. And those middle of the road clinicians, but excellent leaders will also support those very high level clinicians. That's the phenomenon I've noticed in human health.
Okay. Do you want to add anything from your perspective about what happens when people assume that authority comes from their title?
I mean, maybe piggyback off a bit what John said. I mean, I think that you can rely on that for a time, but you do have to deliver at some point. I mean, from a leadership standpoint, earn the respect and kind of the halo effect that goes with being a good leader. I think some of the best leaders I've ever seen are the ones that that know the job, know what they clearly lay out expectations, but they're in your corner. And those are the best leaders, I think. The ones that, and you can do things that can quickly erode that too. I mean, if you do things that are stupid or that are, short-sighted or whatever, that's the pressure, I think, of leadership, is always having that in the forefront of your mind, that I have to be careful how I react to the situation, or whatever guiding principles you've got, always stick to those and let those guide your
I think
actions.
one of the places you always cautioned us, we would see leaders move into different positions, and then if they did not understand how, say, for example, the HR function worked, and now they're at the point with an employee where they feel like they need to terminate the relationship with the employee, but yet they didn't, as a leader, follow certain steps and learn how to handle and navigate those situations such that then it wasn't a surprise to anybody that this person was being, terminated. And by not doing that, then the instability that's created in the practice or in the clinic. I think that was something that you talked to us quite frequently about, because there'd be times I would come to you and I'd be like, I'm done. And you're like, you can't be.
Well, I think, the way that I always looked at it was that if the process is followed, anyone should be able to open that up who's unrelated to the situation, and the documentation should tell a story. It should be very clear what went on. We had a case once, this is years ago when I was in law school, where we had a wrongful termination case we were working on at the firm that I was at, and the employment file was perfect. Because you open it up and you go, this is why you were let go. It wasn't because of what you're alleging. It's because you decided not to come to the employee meetings that are mandatory. That's why. And it was documented 3 times and they terminated you. That's it. So in those kinds of cases, that always stuck with me, because I thought those are the best kinds of situations, because there's the ambiguity is almost zero.
Yeah.
You know exactly what happened. And I mean, in the case that you're talking, or cases that you're mentioning, I think that's what we always strove for, was the process needs to be followed. Doesn't mean that you're haphazard or too lenient in what you do, but it's a win-win actually for the employer and the employee, because the employer gets to cling to the job description and the expectations, but the employee also then has a clear understanding of what the expectations are, and if they don't perform up to those expectations, what the consequences will be.
Okay, so if we're saying that being a good veterinarian, a good skilled clinician, or a good skilled RVT, competence, if that competence is not enough to transition to leadership, then what do you think? What skills are most people missing when they go from that role to the next role? If you guys had to define them, like Caleb, what do you think as a working technician, when you're working from day to day, what, characteristics or, things do you think create success as a follower, when you were a follower?
Not a leader.
Not a leader.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that really.
What do you think creates confusion? Do you remember times when you're like, this is so confusing? I don't know what.
I think confusion comes from not really knowing, like, is the org chart clear? Like, who is the leader? Who do I report to? Who's telling me what? Is the DVM over me? Is somebody else, so that's probably the biggest clarity of who org chart.
Right. Expectations, maybe not knowing what's expected in certain situations. I can see where that would create like a lack of clarity or confusion in the workflow, or just in your work experience even, so like, or if you handle the situation this way one time, but then you do it the same way the next time, but somebody's like, that's wrong, but you're like, but I did it that way. Like
inconsistency.
The one story I always remember is of, you guys would be like, pastors always come back from conventions and they're like, woo, we're going to change these. Yes. And then they change all these like things, and then they don't do any of them, or they don't maintain them. They don't, or they're constantly changing this and then this and then this and then this. And you're like, oh my God, there's so much confusion. I don't even know what's important anymore.
Yeah. I think that making that transition from, you're asking, what elements do you need?
Right.
I think emotional intelligence has to be very high. You can't live in your own little emotional world, and if you're happy, everybody's happy type of thing.
Right.
You really, really need to be able to feel the pulse of your culture. You have to be in tune to how people are, so that you know how to support them. You know how to work alongside them. Different personalities, different strengths and weaknesses. I think that's completely critical. And then secondly, I do think consistency is so important. That's where your policies and procedures come in. That's where your protocols come in. And if you have that in place right out of the gates, you get into a situation like Richie's talking about, where somebody doesn't follow rules, you can handle that consistently. This is very spelled out and clear for you. It's black and white as possible. Emotionally, sure, we'll have some gray area, but when it comes to delivering your job and delivering what we pay you to do, it's in very black and white. And that allows you to lead consistency to prevent what you were talking about, where, hold on, I did this way for so long, and then now you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I can't.
Yeah.
I think those two rank up extremely high, and up there also with communication. You have to be a top tier communicator.
You mentioned the emotional intelligence and being able to take the pulse on the culture. What do you think are some good tools people can use to be able to accomplish that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we used at the church, and this, I mean, you have to have somebody with some ability to be able to do this, but there are times in your business where you will grow and plateau. And when you're growing, it is really, really, really tight. You're just really driving. You're go. You're putting out fires. You're trying to develop systems through that growth. But then when you're plateaued, you need to be able to recognize that. You need to be able to recognize, okay, I need to step back. I need to let it flow, let people breathe a little bit, not to burn out my employees and my team. But at the same time, on the back end as a leader, you can't really give up, because you got to get ready for this next vertical, this next big growth. You need to be be proactive and putting these policies and procedures in place and communicating it while you're letting your team just get used to the new, and then get ready so that it's not just constant things coming at you. You're prepared for it. And if you can find that rhythm of whatever business it is, where you can sense when your team is fatigued, tired, and burn out, and not be so throwing new things at them, let them just go through the motions for a few weeks, let it breathe, and then we would tighten it back up. We would really, when people are starting to be laissez-faire and they're eating nachos at the reception desk, okay, we're going to tighten this thing back up, and we're going to get ready for the next vertical. That's a very healthy rhythm. As if a leader or a clinic owner, if you can find that, you're going to put yourself in a driver's seat.
Do you feel like, Richie, like the ambiguity, so being consistent, John mentioned being consistent, and policies and things like that, do not having those things in place, how can that hurt the clinic or the practice, being ambiguous? What do you think are some of the places where that could take a toll?
I think I had a job once where they really placed a big emphasis on internal and external clients. Internal clients being the people you work for, your supers, your coworkers, and external clients being what we all think of external clients.
Was it Sam's Club?
No, it was not.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Dang it. I was hoping we'd have a Sam's Club
Sam's
story.
Club.
Okay.
I love a Sam's Club story.
But that always stuck with me, because I think it's really important for you to explain the inherent logic behind the purpose of what you do day to day. It's not just, I'm doing this task right in front of me. What's the greater thing that you're working on? And I think that distinction between internal and external clients goes a long way to explaining that logic and saying you have two constituencies, basically. You've got people that you work for, the end consumer, but then also people you work with inside. And one of the things they always stressed was there is no precedent over the other. You have a duty to both parties. And that really helped to say, oh, okay, we have to service the client, but not at the expense of an internal client. And I think if you can explain that logic and people embrace it, I think it helps to say, I have two constituencies that I have to work hard to try and take care of.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically what you're saying is inconsistency creates instability, and then that costs money.
Well, I think going back to the foundation, I mean, what are you really doing? I mean, you're trying to work within the organization, which would be an internal client, but then external client, that's who you're trying to service is you're the end consumer. But a lot of times I think people lose sight of that. And they're like, well, I'm just trying to do this one thing right in front of me. Yes, but in furtherance of what? I mean, what are you trying to do? I mean, to Kayla's point earlier about who do you report to, all these other things, it really helps to say, I think the worst thing you can say is that's not my job, or I don't report to you, I do this. Well, I mean, that may or may not be the best attitude or approach to that. But if you approach everything from, I'm here to service, again, those two constituencies, I think it helps to streamline your thought process.
Has anybody ever worked with somebody who was skilled at their job, but a really bad leader? I have.
Really skilled at their job, but a bad leader? I think the problem is this, is sometimes I look at that and I say, some of the best leaders I've ever seen weren't technical leaders. They were people that led by example. They were people that they came to work early. They killed themselves at work. They stayed as long as they needed to, and they went over me, but they were a great example, and they led. And I mean, they were much more influential
But as
to
a
me.
supervisor, any of your supervisors that directly led you, was there
No, but
anybody
what I'm saying is that you don't have to be a leader in order to lead.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So,
that's a concept we definitely believe
So,
in,
but
for
if
sure.
you could do both, that's great.
Yeah.
That's an awesome situation. But yeah.
Have you, John? You raised your hand.
I think that there's times though where I personally, it's kind of the opposite though.
Mhm.
What if you have a great leader who can't do the job?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I kind
Mhm.
of want to push back on that question and say,
Mhm.
what about somebody who knows how to lead and
Mhm.
can lead people, but can't do their job? And I've
Mhm.
done that. And it's really, really, really hard because your leadership and your support of those people has to be at 140% because your ability to do their jobs at 60. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like they can't count on you to step in and cover for them, to be a servant leader. So
Mhm.
you have to back them and support them. And there are tons of people that can't do either. And that's a whole bunch of trouble. But to answer your question directly, in the hospital, you can have great clinicians that can take care of any patient that like you would want them working on your family. But a lot of times outside of those technical skills and the skills at the bedside, they lack communication. They lack emotional intelligence. They're closed off. They just want to focus on what they're doing and not what their team is doing. And they lack the ability to see the big picture. They are so good at the finite details of their work that they struggle with backing up and seeing the big picture. So they want to nitpick every little bitty thing about an employee, but not see the overarching, hey, this person is really valuable to the team. Yeah, sure, they have a weird laugh and they get there 2 minutes late every once in a while and I have to coach it. But big picture wise, they miss that because they're so caught up on the details.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I worked for somebody initially and early on in my career, and yeah, he was good at running his business and he was really good at being a veterinarian, but then he was not good at leading the rest of the veterinarians. And it came down to emotional intelligence and growing people, instead of making them feel like they're just like a cog in the wheel, and so I think that is, I learned a lot by being around somebody who didn't do it well, because you learned all the things you didn't want to have happen, right? Or didn't want to do. That can be just as valuable as being under somebody who's doing everything that you think is awesome, right?
Sometimes leaders though too. I've worked under people before and they're just not great people. You just tell. You may be great at your job, but you're just a bad dude. I mean, you're just a bad dude. I mean, it's like, I get it. You're in this position, all this stuff, but your demand's unreasonable. You don't. I mean, it was just you just shake your head. You go, this is just stupid. And I'm not. And another thing I think that I've experienced is you have leaders sometimes that rule with fear, and I'm just not one to respond to that very well. And I just was like, you go down every time you pull that card. You go down a notch because I don't. This is a job.
Yes.
It's temporary.
You need to listen to the what type of leader are you on VPP, because we talk about fear as like that's a really bad way
but
to
we've
lead.
all had jobs like that where I mean it's just a constant barrage of negativity and do this or you're fired. It's like after that's not, you may get that in the short term. Your dad used to talk about
compliance. You get compliance for a short period of time.
Your dad used to talk about this where he would say draw a distinction between ask and tell. And how there are certain things where you need to tell someone it's an urgent situation. You have to tell them to do it. Other things are you're asking them to do it within the confines of whatever the description is and everything. And I think that's you understand that distinction and use it accordingly.
Fun fact about John, I took my first major leadership position at the age of 26, and I was brutally honest with people. I'm just not gonna, I would tell them straight, figure like, hey, everybody needs to know. People need to know what they're doing wrong. Well, I got sent to what we called warm and fuzzy school. It was a corporate series of classes on emotional intelligence and how to lead and feedback with backbone and heart. It was a series of classes that I was assigned to take because I just was honest, and a little bit too honest. And honestly, maybe I messed up at not maybe. I messed up as a new leader, but I was fortunate to have a leader that still saw my potential, invested in me. And that series of classes was the greatest thing that ever happened to me on my leadership walk.
That's cool. That's
I learned
cool.
so much and applied it all. It was great.
Honesty has its place, though. I'd much rather somebody brutally honest with me. It's so much easier than like, well, if you thought I was like, just am I late every day? Great. I just won't be late every day.
I don't lie. I just lie. I just tell the truth
nicely. Kayla, do you have anything to say, or is mum's the word?
No, I was when Richie was talking, it just came to my head of just because they're a good employee does not make them a good leader. I just remember like working at All Star, we had great technicians, but we just knew like they could not lead anything. So we knew like they're
Can't
just
lead
gonna
themselves.
they're gonna come and do a great job at their job, but that's all. Like they can't.
And I think that was our responsibility as, people in leadership to know where people belong and put them in the right seat. Right.
And some people don't want to be leaders, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Some people just want to come do their gig and go home.
We have one person who's been at the clinic for 20 years, 18?
20 years this year.
20 years. And remember, we went to her and said, we see potential in you. We think you can handle more responsibility. And this person was like, nope, I'm good. I love what I do. Yeah. I don't need to take on any more responsibility. I don't want to lead anyone else. This is and this person's been an ideal employee. I mean, the person we pretty much founded all the values upon. Like, we used her as the example of what it would look like. And she's still there to this day.
And I think
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think sometimes too, though. I mean, I get that logic, right? I get like, I don't, there's not that, I don't want all the increased responsibility and stress without a commensurate amount of, like a wage increase. You hear about that all the time.
Yep.
People are like, I could take this leadership position, but I'm going to make 2% more if I take this position with all this work and all this. I don't want to do it. So I get it. So as an employer,
well, I think there's a financial thing, but there's also an emotional burden.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's everything. It's the entire package. And I think that's where you have to, as an employer, you have to be cognizant of that and say, understand what we run into that now. Even we've talked about certain positions at certain clinics where, I mean, you go, I get it. I mean, I guess it's this position is warranted. This package comp is warranted for that. I mean, I don't know, but.
Yeah. And I think too, just natural born leaders they're naturally going to show their leadership and work their way up.
I do think it's crucial, though, that as a leader, if you have employees like the one who doesn't want the leadership, but they're a great employee, don't give up on growing them.
Oh, no.
Right.
They can still grow.
Absolutely.
Not every growth path goes to leadership.
Yes.
And just because they don't want to lead doesn't mean they can't.
Yes.
And your informal leaders in your business are your most valuable tool.
Absolutely.
They are the ones that will support you. They are the ones that will come alongside you, and they will push your agendas at the staff level.
Yep.
They will back you. They will give you feedback and information on what's working, what's not. Grow those people.
Yeah, those people truly understand that leadership isn't a title.
100%.
It's a mindset. So.
Yes.
Quick pause to tell you that VetPractice Pro is officially live, and it's designed for veterinary professionals and practices who want practical tools, not fluff. Right now, there are 15 on-demand courses covering leadership, human resources, and customer service, and more, plus over 40 downloadables and 10 ready-to-use SOPs. And the best part, we're adding new courses and SOPs every single month. So it keeps growing right alongside you and your team. If you're looking for education you can actually put into action for yourself or your practice, visit vetpracticepro.com. Yeah. All right, guys. So what leadership skill were you never formally trained in, but had to learn the hard way? Mm-hmm. You kind of said that, John. You were talking about emotional intelligence. Kayla?
The first thing, again, that just comes to my mind was the hardest thing for me as a leader to learn was you have to teach people I'm just going to say the stupidest things. Like I remember just how my brain works. I just assumed everyone else's brain worked that way. Mm-hmm. And I learned very quickly that not everyone thinks like me. I'm like, don't they just see me doing it? Like just do it. Mm-hmm. And it does not work that way.
Yeah. For me, it was learning how to give clear, direct feedback because I was an avoidance person for sure. And I genuinely believed like you that people would just pick up on things.
Yes. They see me doing it. They see me saying it.
this is how you would treat somebody. Why wouldn't you treat
Right.
like, you know what I mean? And so you just assume that everybody's going to do it that way.
Right. Or if you hear somebody getting in trouble for something,
Then
I'd
you
be
just,
like, well, don't you hear that? Just don't do it. And then people end up doing the same thing. I'm like,
yeah, it's not how it works. And so I think what ended up happening for me was that I saw a lot of an inconsistency, right? So like even say the person who's so approachable that you can go and talk to and say, that's not how we want to talk to that client because you feel like you have a safe relationship with them. You might say that to that one person, but then the person who scares you, you're like, I know I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole because I'm scared, you know, of their reaction of the trickle down, the whatever. And so then you avoid that. When you avoid that conversation with that person, what does it say to this person? You know, and it just breeds inconsistency and instability.
Yep.
And it took me forever to learn that.
It's a culture killer.
It took me forever, I feel like, to learn how to be able to do that.
I spent most of my time leading in the middle, and nobody teaches you how to do that.
Yeah.
And in a corporate world, if you're in middle management, I'll pray for you.
Yes.
But you have a team. You have a team that you trust and they trust you. And let's just face it, you're closer with your team that's in the trenches, the people that you're directly leading. But you also have a message to deliver from higher up that your team may not want to accept. And you have to be able to stand successfully in that gap without a people-pleasing mentality to where you're tuning the ear of the people above you, telling them what they want to hear. And then you're telling your staff what they want to hear. Because what that's going to do is it's going to put you on that chopping block. At some point, somebody's going to call your bluff that you're playing both sides.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to give constructive feedback up while also provide direction from top down. And nobody teaches you that. I learned it the hard way. I've fought it and fought it and fought it. And when you find that finesse, you will be very successful in a middle management level.
Okay. I love that. It is a struggle, I feel like, leading from the middle.
Yes.
We're going to have more on that. So stay tuned. All right. So if we've kind of talked about some of the things that are missing when people transition from, you know, maybe being a follower to being a leader, what do you guys think are some of the stabilizing factors? If you had to pick one, you know, what would be there's 4 of us, so we can give people 4 things that might stabilize their practices. Kayla, do you want to go first?
Nope.
Okay.
In what regard?
John,
When you say stabilize, clarify that.
meaning like what's going to provide confidence, culture stability.
Like things like predictable.
Yes.
Like a predictable.
So you mean like operationally?
Operationally.
Okay.
Like what big concepts? So like, you know, I think for me, the big one is consistency. That's the one I picked. It's, in my opinion, the biggest thing somebody can do that's in leadership, what I have found is be consistent. Yeah. It's not about one huge thing that you're going to do in your career. You're going to have those things that happen to you that are like, woo, I accomplished that. But it's really about doing the small right things consistently over time. That's what's going to get you the results that everybody else wants. So just being consistent, and nobody wants to do that. It's hard. And that's why everybody always, I feel like, is like clamoring for what you have. I want what you have. What you just got to do the small things consistently.
Atomic Habits, James Clear.
But it's hard, and that's why people struggle with it. Yeah. So I think being consistent is my thing.
Yes, I was going to probably add just like clear expectations. I'm a big like train them well so they know the expectations. But I also, one thing that just was always asked of me at All Star is, how do you just stay so calm? Like, why is just the clinic is burning down, and I was able to bring the calm of like, guys, it's fine. Everything's going to be fine. Everyone stop panicking. Let's just do X, Y, Z. So I would probably say being calm. It was just one of those things that people always came to me. Like, how do you always stay so calm and positive?
Yeah, absolutely.
When the clinic is burning down.
When the clinic is
I was like, because we always figure it out. That's
because
why
it always gets figured out. That's exactly right.
It always gets fixed. So,
yeah.
So she spoke to some of the emotional tone of leadership. I just want to add to that from, you know, my perspective on the agenda is that one of the questions was, that we were faced with in this podcast is how do you manage morale when there's pressure?
Yeah.
You know, and I think the number one tool through that is celebrate every single win. If somebody's pressured, if your team's pressured, if the clinic's burning down, you celebrate the wins. If we got through it, that's a win. We celebrated it. If nobody got hurt, everybody's good, everybody's fine. If you consistently celebrate those wins, those people feel like they're doing good. And when somebody swipes that clock, they want to do good.
Yes.
And if they're somebody you want to employ, they want to be successful. They want to do good. They want the clinic to be successful. And the more you celebrate those little consistencies, those little wins, the better that morale is going to be, no matter how dark it gets.
Yeah, I think returning those results back to your core values just deepens that stuff.
And as a new leader, you don't take the credit.
Yep.
Push that credit back down to them.
Absolutely.
You don't need the credit. You got the title.
Right.
You're the leader. Push the credit back down to them and build them up.
Yeah. That is the one place that I think group messages are okay.
Yeah.
And that might be the only one, is when you are giving people, accolades for a hard day or whatnot, not only can you go independently to someone and tell them something specific, but as a group, what did they handle well today? And so, yeah, I agree completely. Do you have anything to add?
I would just say always be learning and constantly be chasing greatness. I think you can never go wrong with that. I think that, one of the rules of the clinic was always, it was based upon fact, was that people always leave. And if you're always trying to make them better, if you're constantly chasing that greatness factor through education, through learning, you can never go wrong. So I think that it's really important to expand their skill set while they're there, to make them the best person you possibly can while they're there.
Okay.
The greatest leadership moment that I have ever experienced, the greatest thing that I've ever heard come out of a leader's mouth, wasn't even my leader, and it was actually you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
At an All-Star Vet Clinic Christmas party.
Oh no.
At your house, one of the older, smaller ones. You said
It's a double oh no.
Oh no.
Go ahead, proceed.
I know what's coming out of his
Okay,
mouth.
what's
you were
happening?
celebrating, I think, the first year that the clinic had made $1 million or something like that. And you tearfully said, passionately said, that our goal for every single person is here, that it works at All Star, is that if you ever decide to leave here, that you not leave a better better employee, but a better person.
Right.
That we grew you and we changed your life as a person. And at that point, I would have literally sold everything and worked for you guys the rest of my life. That was just, and it was sincere. And if you have a leader like that, cherish it, because it doesn't always come that clean.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So mad respect.
Thanks, man.
Snaps.
All right. If today's episode sparked something for you, don't let it end here. Take one concept and apply it this week. One conversation, one adjustment, one improvement. And if you want tools, structure, and community around becoming the kind of leader your team actually needs, you can find more resources inside VPP. Until next time, strong medicine saves patients, but strong leadership saves practices. You guys like that?
Love it. Don't forget
We'll see
it.
you next time.